Let's make a perfect vintage shirt together. Hello everyone, my name is Estybella. Welcome back to my channel where I share detailed cutting and sewing tutorial every week. So go ahead and tap on the subscribe button so you don't get to miss any of my latest sewing tips and tricks. Let's jump into class. So this is the fabric I'm going to be using. It is a vintage fabric and I use 1.5 yards, and these are my sewing tools. This is the fabric we are going to be using for the front. The width of this fabric is my biggest circumference of my body plus 1.5 sewing allowance plus 5 inches. The 5 inches is going to be used for our button stand and the flap. So the biggest circumference of my body is my bust, so I use my bust. And this 5 inches is very, very important. Please make sure you leave the 5 inches. So I'm going to fold in that 5 inches. Just fold it in like this. You see it? Fold in that 5 inches. Make sure it's 5 inches. Then the length of this fabric is the length of my shirt, which is 26 inches. So I'll keep this aside and bring for the back. We'll come back to it. So for the back, the length, first let's talk about the width. The width is going to be the same thing with the front minus the 5 inches. You get it? And I'll bring the front now over it. I'll put it for you to see that it's the same. The width is the same. The length is not the same. I'll tell you what the length is going to be. Putting it on each other now, both front and back, you can see that the width, the wideness is the same thing minus the 5 inches. Remember, the 5 inches is folded in. So at the top, I'm going to mark 3 inches. You know that I made them equal below. At the lower part, they are equal. On top, one is longer than the other. So at the back now, I'm marking 3 inches. From the front, from the end of the front, I'm marking 3 inches. So I'm going to draw it across now to show that 3 inches. So I'm going to cut the excess at the top. We don't need it again, so I'm going to cut it. That means the back is longer than the front with 3 inches. Please take note. The back is longer than the front with 3 inches. So I'm going to cut it. So everything is set now. This is the fabric we are going to be using for our shirt. Now I'm going to lift the front to touch the top of the back so that they become equal at the top, and at the bottom they will not be equal. Are you seeing what I'm doing? Please follow me carefully. So now they are equal at the top. They are no longer equal at the bottom. So now I'm going to mark my shoulder slope. The shoulder slope for a vintage shirt is always 3 inches. Sometimes you can use 4 inches. So I'm going to mark 3 inches as my shoulder slope. Then I'm going to draw the line across to my shoulder tip, at the neck tip there. You see it? Good. Now I'm going to cut this off. Cut it off. Just cut it off. From the tip there to that shoulder slope of 3 inches. Just cut it off like that. After cutting it off, now I'm going to mark 1/2 inch on top of this front. You know, this is the front that is on top, while the back is underneath it. So I'm going to just mark 1/2 inch on the front. You see it? I'm marking 1/2 inch. After marking this 1/2 inch, I'm going to move the front down to go and meet the back so that they will become equal at the lower part, and the 3 inches excess is going to be at the top. So now I'm going to fold over the back. I'm folding over the back to touch that 1/2 inch that we just marked. Can you see it? It's very simple and straightforward. Just fold over the back. Let it rest on top of that 1/2 inch that we mark. Then the next thing to do is to mark our shoulder measurement. So my shoulder is 15 inches divided by 2 is 7.5. So I'll mark 7.5. And on that part, I'm going to mark my chest line. My chest line is my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 2.5. So I'm going to put it there. That's 8. That will give me 8.5. So I'm going to mark 8.5 right there. So the next thing I want to do now is on that chest line, I'm going to confirm my shoulder measurement again, which is 7.5, so that I can get a straight line. So I'm going to connect this line into a straight line. Then the next thing I will do is on this my chest line, I'm going to impute my bust measurement. My bust measurement is 36 divided by 4, which is 9. So I will impute 9 inches. Then I will add 1/2 inch for ease, then 1 inch for sewing allowance. But after making this shirt, I saw that it was not that big. So I will advise you to add like 1 inch for ease. You can add 1 inch or 1.5 for inch, because a vintage shirt is supposed to be very big. So the next thing I did is to go in by 1/2 inch on that, the midpoint of my armhole. Then I'll just connect it. first with my straight ruler, then I'll use my curve ruler to finish it up. Then we'll go straight to the neckline. To get the perfect neckline for your vintage shirt, what you do is you measure around your neck to get your neck circumference. For mine, my neckline, my neck circumference is 15. 15 divided by 4, I will get 3.75. So that's what I'm going to use as my neck depth. And look at where I'm going to take that neck depth from the top there. So I'm going to mark 3.75, and the width of the neckline is going to be half of my neck depth. So if I divide 3.75 into 2, I'll get 1.875. That is what I marked there. So I'm going to connect the line. Do you see it? I hope you note where I marked the depth and the width from. So I'm going to connect it. See the way I'm going to connect it? I'm first going to use my curve ruler to curve it from the tip of the back there, the back that is folded. Then I'll turn my curve ruler to now finish up the curve. You see what I'm doing? I'm going to curve it from that tip there now and finish up. You see the way I turned my curve? Make sure you turn it like that. First of all draw for the front, then for the back you turn it. So now when you want to cut it, don't cut it all together. You will first of all cut the front one. You raise that part up, then you cut for the front. Are you see it? Now I'm cutting only the front though, only the front. Please take note. Only the front. Then I will drop it back. Then I'll now cut that remaining part at the back. You see it? Please follow it the way I'm doing it to get a perfect neckline. Now it's only the back I'm cutting. That back that is folded. I'm showing you so that you not go and cut everything and spoil the neckline. Perfect. So now I'm going to add ½ inch for seam allowance on my armhole. So that's what I'm showing you now. I'm going to add ½ inch on the armhole, then I'll just cut it out. After adding the ½ inch on your armhole, just cut it out. Okay. So after cutting it out, you can now separate them. You can bring out the front and the back. So this is the front and the one beneath is the back. So this is how it should look. So if you are seeing any sharp point at this part, you can just trim it out. If this part is too pointy, you can just trim it out a little, or just trim it out a little so that you don't have that pointed mouth, you don't have that pointed tip. So trim it out and you'll be okay. So I'll go to the front now. At that 5 inch that I folded, I'll notch it. That 5 inch that we folded in, at that point I'm going to notch it. That is what I'm notching now. Both bottom, at the top and at the bottom, I will notch it. Then I will open it up. You see, that's the 5 inch. I've opened it up. Then I will slit it open so that we can have two fronts, one on the left, one on the right. That's what I'm doing now. I'm going to slit it open. So after slitting it open, I'm going to bring stay interfacing, and I'm going to go to my pressing iron and I'll iron stay on this 5 inches. You can just make it past the 5 inches by 1 inch. That means from the center front 6 inches. So this is the two center fronts that we have now. We have two front. So I'm going to press my stay at the wrong side. I'm going to press stay like 6 inches stay from that center front. So let me go and press my stay and I'll bring it back to show you. So guys, I've pressed the interfacing and I made sure that I ironed that my crease line back. That my 5 inches, I made sure I ironed it so that the crease line will show where the 5 inches stopped. Do you understand? So that's exactly what you will do for yours too. Now the next thing we're going to do is to bring out our button stand. We want to bring out our button stand. This is how you do it. From that crease line, you now fold out ½ inch from that crease line where we notched. From that our 5 inches, bring out, you pull out like ½ inch. Sometimes you can use 0.75, but ½ inch is perfect. Just pull out ½ inch. Then you go back to your pressing iron and press it again. So we are going to have a new crease line. We're not going to follow that other one again. Do you understand? I'll go to my pressing iron now and iron it. That means you are bringing out 1/2 inch. That 1/2 inch you brought out to be your button stand. Then any excess you have on the neckline, because you have shifted it, you are going to have excess. So just trim out any excess you have. Don't worry, it's not going to affect anything. Now you have brought out 1/2 inch. That is going to serve as your button stand. So do it for the two. That will be the overlap where your button will stay. So guys, I've done it. I've pressed it. If you find any excess around the neckline, there is no issue. Just trim it off. I'll just go ahead and trim off the excess on the neckline. Now the next thing we are going to do is to cut our back yoke. I've already cut mine, but all you need to do is just to place another fabric under your back, then cut 8 inches. Just cut exactly 8 inches. That will be your yoke for the back. And you fold the bottom by 1/2 inch. For now, let's keep the yoke aside. We'll use it. I'll tell you when we are going to use it. So now I'm going to join both the front and the back by the shoulders. So I'm going to bring my back. This is the back. Then I'll bring the front over it. And we are going to join the shoulders. Please, when you are joining the shoulders, remove the flap. Don't join the flap with it. Just remove the flap like I'm doing. Then you join the shoulders. So let me bring the other front. I'll place the other front over it, and look at what I'm doing. I'm not placing them right side facing right side. I'm going to sew the shoulder just like this. Just like this. I know you'll be thinking, why is the joining outside? Don't worry, we'll cover it up with the yoke. Make sure you remove your flap when you are joining the shoulders. So I'll go ahead now and join the shoulders. So now I have joined the shoulders. Look at what it's looking like. I did not join the flap, remember. So now I'm going to bring my yoke over it. This time around, I'm going to let right side face right side. You see it? Right side is going to be facing right side. So that by the time we join it, I'm going to put it on the shoulder too and sew it. So that by the time we join it at the shoulder, when we take it to the back, it will now stay as the yoke. We'll now top stitch. Do you see it? This is how it's going to look when we finish joining. And all the sewing is going to now be inside. The yoke is now going to conceal all the sewing. I've gone ahead to join it. So this is what it's looking like. You can see I've joined it by the shoulder. Now that one is good. The yoke is going to go to the back now. Then we are going to now fold that 1/2 inch I told you at the bottom. Make sure you arrange everything very well. Arrange it very well. Let it rest properly. Iron it and arrange it very well. Then you can go ahead and put hemming gum. When you finish arranging that 1/2 inch at the back yoke, you can go ahead and put hemming gum, then gum it. When you gum it, you can now stitch on it neatly. Let me do that, then we'll continue. So guys, I've done that. You can see everything is looking very pretty. I've stitched on it and my shirt is coming out. I love it. See my neckline. Looking so pretty. So the next thing we want to do now is to draft our sleeve. So the first thing I want to do is to mark the length of my sleeve. I want the length of my sleeve to be 9 inches. So I'm going to mark 9 inches and I'm going to add 1.5 inch allowance. I'll draw the line. After getting that, the next thing I'll draw is my cap's height. So my cap's height, I use my bust measurement divided by 12. I got 4.5. So I'm going to mark that too and draw the line across. So on this cap's height line, I'm going to mark my chest line measurement, the one I use on the bodice, which is 8.5. I'm going to mark 8.5 there. Then I'm going to draw a line from the tip of my sleeve to that 8.5. I'm going to draw it across. Then I will get the midpoint of this slant line. I will get the midpoint. After getting the midpoint, I will use my curve ruler to curve it. I'll curve it like an S shape. Just look what I am doing and follow it. It will go from here up. Then I'll turn my ruler and it will go down. Just follow what I'm doing and you'll get it. You see it? I'll now take it down. The first one went up and now down like an inverted S. Okay, so now I'll go to the sleeve length and I'll mark my round sleeve measurement and I'll add allowance to it. I'll connect the 2 points together. Then I'll fold the bottom, that allowance, that 1.5 inch allowance, I'll fold it in. Then I'll just cut it out. Then transfer to fabric. Then we'll continue with the tutorial. So guys, I've transferred to fabric. I'm going to remove my pattern paper now. Then I'm going to notch the middle of my sleeve. Then I'll go to my bodice and I will notch the middle of my shoulder. Please take note, when you are notching the shoulder of your bodice, I'll show you now. Don't notch the joining. It's not the joining that is the middle of your shoulder. You know, the way we cut it, the back is going to come forward. So don't go and notch the joining of the shoulder. That's not the middle. Just arrange the armhole. When you arrange the armhole, you will know the middle of your shirt. Arrange the armhole, let them match up, just like I'm doing. Arrange it very well, let it match up. Then you will get the middle, not your joining. Oh, don't use your joining as the tip. Arrange it like this, then you will get your shoulder tip. This is what I'm going to use. So I've notched it. Now I'm going to fix my sleeve like this, and I'll do it for the second one too. So let me go ahead and do that. So guys, we're almost done with our shirt. It's looking so fine. Now we are going to just join the body, starting from the sleeve. Just use the allowance you added. Just join it from the sleeve and enter the bodice. Then we are going to cut our collar. To cut our collar, I'm going to bring a piece of fabric that I've already interfaced. I used Estee for it. Then I'm going to measure my shirt, the neck. I'll measure the neck round. So when you're measuring, please remove the flap. Don't measure with the flap. Just tuck in the flap in. Then measure from that your center front where it's folded, from your button stand to the next button stand. So mine is 15 inches. So I'm going to minus 2 from the 15. It will now give me 13 inches. So I'll bring the piece of fabric. Then I'll measure 13 divided by 2, 6.5. So that's what I'm going to mark as the width, 6.5. Then the height of the collar, at the folded edge there, I'm going to mark 3 inches or 3.5. Let's use 3.5. Then at the open place, I'm going to mark 2 inches. So at the folded part, 3.5. At the open part, I marked 2 inches. So I'm going to use my curve ruler, a slight curve. I'm going to use it to curve it from that 3.5 inches to 2 inches. So I'm going to give it a nice curve. Then I'll cut it out. The collar is so simple. Don't forget the width of the collar. The width of the collar is 15 minus 2, which gave us 13 inches. And I added ½ inch for sewing allowance. So I'm going to cut it out now. Then place it on another fabric so that we can cut 2. You know we are going to turn it. So I'm going to place it on the other fabric and cut it out. Then I'll go to my sewing machine and sew the top, that curved edge. I'll sew the curved edge at the 2 sides. I'll leave the lower part open because that's where we are going to join to the shirts. So I've gone ahead to sew it, the curved part. Now I'm notching it. I'm going to notch it round, then go to my pressing table, press it flat. Then we can join it to our shirt. So now we want to join to our shirt. I'm going to notch the center. Give the center a notch. Then give a notch to your center back too, because we are going to start sewing from the center back. Now I'm going to align the collar and the shirt. You see them right side facing right side. Then I'll sew from that center back. I'll sew to the left and I'll sew to the right, removing the flap. Don't sew the flap with it, remove the flap. So let me go and join it, and I'll come back to show you how you use the flap to finish it up. I'll show you. Just sew to the left and to the right. So guys, I've sewn it. You can see how it's looking. Don't forget, remove the flap when you are sewing. So now we are going to flip the flap from the button stand. You hold that button stand. You see the way I'm holding it? Then you flip the flap. Then you sew ½ inch. You continue that ½ inch you use in sewing that collar. You see it? You just put it, align it. Then you continue the sewing. Make sure that when you turn this flap, hold it at that button stand. You know that crease line you created? So now I'm telling you that when you get to the tip here, you can fold this part by ½ inch inside. Just watch what I'm doing and follow what I am doing in the video. You will get it. So I'm going to sew half inch. I'll do the same thing for this other side. Okay, let me explain again with this one. I will pick the crease line of the button stand, then I will turn the flap over it like this. You see it? Then I will sew half inch, and at the tip of that flap I'm going to fold it in by half inch. Then I'm going to sew to continue to join with the collar. This thing is simple, just follow what I'm doing. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew it. This is what it looks like. I sewed half inch. I continued with that where we stopped at the collar. You see it? So I'm going to notch the tip here. I'm going to notch it so that by the time we turn it over, it will relax. It will give us that pointed mouth that we want. So I'm just notching it, then I'll turn it. This is what we have. Can you see it? Can you see it? See, our collar is out. Our collar is out. It's so beautiful. Do you see it? So I'm going to weave everywhere that needs to be weaved. Then I'm going to press it. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to press it, and when you are pressing, that is when you are going to bring out the collar. You have gotten the collar stand, the one up. So see what I'm doing? You're going to press it, then you now form your collar at the center front there. So I'll go ahead and press it. Then our shirt is ready. Fix your button and you are set. I'm going to show you. Okay, you still have to turn the bottom. We have not turned the bottom. We have not hemmed the bottom. So at that center front, the button stand, just turn the hem like this. See the way I turned it. Then sew half inch. Then bring it back. Don't forget where I started. The button stand. Turn it over first. Sew half inch. So I'll go ahead and do for the other side too. I'll turn it over and sew half inch. I've gone ahead to sew it. This is what it looks like. Please remember, I turned it over at the button stand, that crease line. That is where I turned it and sew half inch. I did the same thing for this part too. I'm just showing you so that you see what I'm doing. So now I'm going to turn it now to the right side. Turn both sides to the right side. Then I will continue. If you turn it now, you'll see that the lower part is already folded by half inch because of that thing you did. So just continue with that half inch that is folded and hem it to the other part. Just hem it round with that half inch, hem it to the other part, and we are done. All you need is just to press. Just arrange everything and press it. Make sure that the overlapping of your button stand is half inch because that's what we use. So overlap it by half inch, then press it neatly. Bring out your collar and everything will be sitting pretty. Make sure you weave everywhere that needs to be weaved inside this shirt so that it will come out neat and beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me in this class. I had fun teaching you. I hope you had fun learning too. I will see you in my next video. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, I am looking at you with 3D eyes. Go ahead and tap on the subscribe button. Click on the like button too and share this video to your friends and soulmates. Thank you. Bye-bye.